Picard, Season 2, Episode 2, Penance. For what? What exactly is this supposed to be penance for? I don't understand, because if Q has to put Jean-Luc Picard on an alternate timeline, and then tell him he's got to do penance to get forgiveness for what? I just don't understand how he can be responsible, especially since this is an android, not actual human Jean-Luc Picard.
I was going to say that, like, even if there is a crime that Jean-Luc Picard is guilty of, this is a robot. This isn't even like Cliff from Doom Patrol, where they took his brain out and stuck it in the robot body, so it's still Cliff. From what I can tell, this was like a copy of the synapses of his brain, and this is all brand new. So this entity that's calling itself Jean-Luc Picard is a robot. So what exactly is Q trying to do with this guy? But then again, Q is coming off like he was a bit crazy. So,
well, they said that Q seems unstable in the show. That's what Picard said, was that Q doesn't seem well. And they even had Q hit him and give him a nosebleed. So it just, I don't know, it was weird. And of course, this reality's Jean-Luc Picard is a general who apparently has killed a whole bunch of people. Apparently Ducat is the one that gave him the synth body. But Picard has also killed Sarek, and was it Murtaugh it sounded like he killed? And
well, let's be careful here. Not that these story ideas are anything worth, savoring, but in this reality, before Q moved Jean-Luc Picard, this robot body in this reality was given by Ducat, not the one from season 1.
Correct. In this reality,
he's
where
still a robot.
Q has deposited him.
He's still a robot, but Jean-Luc Picard's still a robot, but he got his body from Ducat.
Yeah, Ducat is the one that killed his physical body, and now that's why he's in a synth body. This guy, this Jean-Luc version, has all these skulls of all these people he's killed on display in his house. Got a Ferengi head and a whole bunch of others as well.
But they were going through a bunch of member berries.
Yeah.
This is Martok, this is Ducat. It was Sarek, I believe, was one of them.
Yep, Sarek was one that he killed, apparently in front of Spock.
They didn't mention his sister, so I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, really.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, oh, Jesus Christ. How in the hell can Jean-Luc Picard be responsible for all this shit when A, he's an android, and B, even this version, before he became an android, he didn't do those things. So, this is stupid.
Yeah, I don't know what they're trying to do here. But again, because this Jean-Luc Picard is a robot, when we first saw Q, that was one of the questions we had after the episode was over. Because in the last episode, Q said something like, and the trial's never over.
Mm-hmm.
And if anybody remembers, and I'm hoping everybody remembers from the next generation, the whole concept from the very first episode was Q was putting humanity on trial, and Picard was basically representing
humanity.
He was the lawyer for humanity.
Yeah.
But now he's a robot. So, like, if Q is continuing his trial of humanity, that's like having Data defend humanity. Like, why would you have Picard defend humanity?
Well,
robot Picard.
Or Data doing the penance for sins committed by humanity.
A robot that had nothing to do with it.
Yeah. Yes, I mean, that's just crazy. And of course, this version of Jean-Luc Picard is asking the android butler to find Laris. And as it turns out, she and her husband were killed in some uprising. Apparently, it's Eradication Day.
Yay!
Yeah. Oh, God, because a human galaxy is a safe galaxy. I mean, they're just so over the top with this crap. And I've never been one to like the alternate universe concept in comics or anything like that. I've always hated that
How
stuff.
often has this franchise, and by franchise I mean these secret hideouts, Discovery went right to their version of a stupid mirror universe.
Yeah.
You people can't even tell straightforward stories. Stop trying to get clever with alternate timelines and alternate universes. Tell good stories without doing any of that stuff, because you can't even tell a good story without any of those twists.
Yeah. So anyways, as it turns out, Seven is the president of the Confederation. Everyone else that surrounds Picard has been deposited in this alternate timeline, with the exception of Soji. She's not there. Rios is there. Raffi is there. Eleanor is there. Agnes is there. It's basically the cast. I mean, it's weird why you would even choose these people anyway, aside from that they're the characters from season 1. Like, what does Agnes really have to do with Picard? I mean, really, he met her in season 1. So again, but it's just writing. So, of course, all of these people have to find each other. They realize that after talking to the Borg Queen, because she's there too.
They had her like in a freezer on ice or something.
Yeah. And as it turns out, General Picard is supposed to execute her in front of a crowd for Eradication Day. But they have talked to her, and because she apparently is connected to alternate realities or timelines or whatever of the Borg, she can sense when things went off the rails, which apparently was in 2024 in Los Angeles. So they realize that they have to go back in time and try to repair whatever went wrong. And in order to do that, they are going to have to slingshot around a planet or some shit, just like they used to do with the Enterprise back in Kirk's day. Except since they don't have Spock to make adjustments, they need the Borg Queen to go with them to do it. So they take the Borg Queen and they all eventually beam up to Rios' ship. They're getting ready to go, and Seven's horrible husband beams up using presidential override. So Seven's husband uses presidential override to get on Rios' ship. And that's where he shoots Eleanor, and he's about to shoot Picard. And that's where the episode leaves off for the day. Yeah, I mean, I didn't have to pause it at all for stupidity, which was good, so that meant it was better than Star Trek Discovery. But again, that bar is so low. Basically, they dug a hole and stuck the bar down in it, so you'd have to really, really dig a very deep hole to get any lower than the Star Trek Discovery bar. But that doesn't mean by any stretch of the word that this was a good episode. Because clearly, just the fact that they had Q there, Q could have given Jean-Luc Picard back his human body. They could have done that from the get-go.
He still might at the end, because I still think they realize it was stupid to put him in that robot body. That was stupid. I'm giving you reasons in this video why it's stupid.
Maybe that'll be his reward at the end of the season. I don't know. But, so I mean, that sucked.
Well, plus Q, I realize they're implying, they're stating outright, that Q's not mentally there. But there were a few things, like last week I said they mostly got the Picard character right. And I think this episode they did too. But, and this is going to be nitpicky, but I'm going to say it. There's a difference between saying damn you versus goddamn you. And they're adding that extra type of piece in the profanity they're using. And when Q slugged Picard and made his nose bleed, that made no sense to me. That's what primitive creatures do.
Mm-hmm. Q was never violent like that.
Why would, Q would mess with your brain, your mind. He would,
yeah.
But he wouldn't smack you. So the fact that he slapped or punched, I forget, I think it was a punch. He punched Picard in the face and made his nose bleed. Like, that was the first thing that just didn't ring right.
Yeah.
And then, as I said, and this happened last week too, there's a difference, at least for me, when somebody says, damn you, which I think Picard would say, versus goddamn you, which I don't see Picard saying, but he did.
Yeah.
Something very similar to that. For me, the highlights of this episode were John Delancey, up until he started playing crazy at the end. He felt like Q, and he put in a good performance.
Yep.
Jean-Luc Picard mostly felt like Jean-Luc still, so that's still a continuation of last week. The star of this episode, this is the first time in 2 seasons we finally got 7 of 9.
Yeah.
Through this entire episode, she felt like 7 of 9 to me.
Mm-hmm.
Her story, because they had a couple of storylines going on, hers was the more interesting story. Her performance was the more interesting performance.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't feel like pausing it much. For me, was this good Star Trek? No. I mean, I was giving it a chance in that first episode. They're just member-burying the crap out of things now. However, like I said at the end of the first review, this is interesting fan fiction. And I like watching fan films. There's good fan films and bad fan films. So, for me, because Discovery doesn't even function as a fan film. It's just garbage.
Yeah.
Whereas this this is still a second episode where I would recommend, if you put in your mind, this is a fan film. This is made by people in their basements and continuing what they think is the characters of Star Trek, and they're not quite getting it right. That's what I would recommend this for, only for that, for fan films feels. But this is, now they're getting ready to go back in time. They probably got one more episode next week where they're going to escape from Seven's husband. Mm-hmm. And then I bet you that fourth episode, they're going to be back in 2024, and then it's going to be so boring that I'm not even going to want to watch it anymore. But I thought the highlights were 7 of 9. It actually felt like 7 of 9. Mm-hmm. That's about all I can say about a positive here.
Well, plus in this episode, Elnor and Rafi felt like extraneous characters that didn't even need to be in the show. And Agnes did as well. I mean,
your mom pointed this out. So as they're going through this eradication day, and they don't like the eradication day, Elnor's cutting people's heads off and stuff. Or
he's slitting throats.
Slit that throat.
Yeah.
So you're against eradication day, but you're eradicating people. Like, how do you square that circle?
Yeah, because, I mean, we don't know. When Picard was shooting people, maybe his phaser or whatever he had that from that alternate timeline, maybe it was set to stun. However, Elnor was definitely slitting those people's throats and they were dying. So, yeah.
Because your mom pointed that out.
Yeah.
She said, how could they be against eradication day when they're eradicating people?
Yeah, exactly. Good question. So, not offensive. You know, I'm not going to shit on anybody because they enjoyed watching that. It was way better than watching Star Trek Discovery, I'll give it that much.
Oh, yeah.
This stuff is not a continuation of The Next Generation. It's just not.
Nope.
And I understand they keep saying, 25% different, and who knows what the actual stipulations were in the contract. This could be a lot better.
Yep.
And it should have been.
Yep. As I said, I enjoyed the 7 characters. Jean-Luc was pretty cool. I mean, there are pieces here that it angers me because it's like, with better writers, I'm not saying this particular storyline, but I mean the concept of continuing Picard with a new series in 2022, This could have worked. This could have worked with better writing. If it wasn't Secret Hideout running this crap, this could have worked. There were moments where Jean-Luc Picard was feeling like Jean-Luc Picard, and I'm saying that because that means that Patrick Stewart, even at his advanced age, can still channel Jean-Luc Picard. And John Delancey, he can do Q when he wanted to. And Jerry Ryan, she nailed, I thought, 7 of 9 through like 90% of this episode.
Yeah, it was nice to see them again, even if just for member berries in an otherwise terrible story arc.
But it's all member berries. That skull room, that was so face-palmy. All that was, they should have just had a member berry on the screen because they were going through and name-dropping all these people that you would have known by watching real Star Trek. And
well, plus that rally they were having for Eradication Day, the auditorium seemed way too small. And what was going on that stage, it felt like I was watching someone who had used Pink Floyd's The Wall as a template for how they were going to set up this totalitarian rally. It was just ridiculous. I don't know what they were trying to go for, but that's what they achieved. That's just sad.
Yeah, I mean, again, maybe I'm going to be wrong. Maybe this is all going to come together because there were some positives here. But I just have a feeling next week's going to be, which next week to me is going to be a waste then. Like, they were getting ready to escape and move on to the past. And they had to have her husband show up at the last frickin' moment on the ship.
Well, television writers have to up the drama. Like I said in my reviews of the Expanse episodes, I could tell which episodes were adapted for television by the original writers of the source material versus television writers who were brought in to do the same thing. The television writers always upped the drama to like an 11, and it was ridiculous and unnecessary. And that's exactly what we see with this as well. And I'm fed up with this unnecessary drama at an 11. Give me a break. We all know that they're going to be going back to 2024. So why don't we just get there?
Yep, that's exact. Like,
there are no stakes at this point.
You and I were at the end of this episode before he showed up, the husband, and we're like, all right, well, maybe next week we'll see what this past stuff's going to do.
Maybe we'll actually get to start the real story.
And then the husband shows up the last moment and says, oh, you're coming with me. And then the credits came up. I'm like, son of a... I mean, now we're going to have to watch a whole waste episode next week while they escape, because we know they're going to escape and get to the past. We've seen that in this season on Picard.
Yeah.
So this was not as... I hesitate to call last week's good, but this was not as good as last week's. Whatever that thing was last week, I'll call it good, but I'm not sure good's the right word. This was lesser.
And I'm going to call Agnes the Tilly of...
Yeah, she's just
Picard.
acting all awkward, and the stuff that Tilly did in Discovery.
The diarrhea of the mouth.
Yep.
It's just like, shut up, my God. Just so annoying.
That's what Agnes is.
Yeah.
She's unnecessary. They didn't need to take her along. At least not so far.
Not really, no. Anyway, love to hear what everybody else thinks about this. We said this on the Star Trek Discovery video. I'll just repeat it here. It's going to be about a week and a half before we get the review for the next episode of Picard up, because we're moving. And after that, though, things should be a lot more regular, because we'll actually be able to set up in our own place and have a dedicated time and spot to be recording. So I'm so looking forward to that. But we really do appreciate you being patient with us, and the fact that our channel has been growing even while we've been not as consistent as we would like. That's just fantastic. So thank you all. As always, I love to hear from you guys, so definitely leave us comments. And here's to next week.
Take care.